All right. How many people knew that Halloween is actually a pagan holiday? You know what it celebrates? It celebrates the end of the harvest. Also celebrates the pagan or the witches' new year, the little witches. Today what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a little bit of history on witchcraft. I'm going to tell you what witches are and what witches are not. Okay, and I think it's pretty important to tell you about the history so that you know where we're going, how it's going to flow from there. Okay. Halloween is also the period of time when see if I can explain this correctly. That the veil between the living and the dead is the thinnest. So if you have loved ones that have already passed on, that is the perfect time for you to say, hey, we're still thinking about you, etc. Okay? Now, many myths and legends surround neo-pagan and the wicked religions. And today we're going to be taking a spiritual journey, and we're going to dispel some of those myths and legends. That was such a crap joke. All right, we're going to a little bit about the history. Okay, in 1566 and 1599, Pope Gregory the Ninth and Pope Innocent III gave major pushes to the Christian churches. And what they wanted to do is they wanted to stamp out any perceived paganism. Now, their main weapon was a book called the Malleus Maleficarum, which loosely translates to Hammer of the Witches. And this was written by a gentleman, I use that word loosely, by the name of Heinrich Kramer. Now, in this book, Heinrich spelled out what witches do, how witches think, and so on and so forth. And also in the book, it spelled out how to deal with perceived witches. So, that being the note, we come to the Salem witch trials. Everybody knows about the witches being burned at the stake. Sure. What we don't know is several of the other methods that they were used for torturing. And the one that was most prevalent that stood out in my mind was they would strap an accused witch in a chair and then dunk them in a lake. Okay? If you floated, you're a witch. If you drowned, you were innocent. Now, while I'm talking about the Salem witch trials, out of the 189 people that were killed, meaning the various methods, only 3 were actually witches. That is the level of paranoia that it was back then. And I'm going to bring a little bit about Hollywood to the table as well. Now, we have movies that Hollywood produced. Like, we have the 3 most notable ones are Practical Magic, The Craft, Veruza Balk, Nev Campbell. Familiar with that one? And Witches of Eastwick. Jack Nicholson, Cher. Come on, you can't lose. They were pretty accurate. No. The only thing realistic about those movies were the credits. With one exception. Practical Magic did illustrate how the methods of witchcraft were passed down from mother to daughter, and so on and so forth. So that was kind of cool. But as far as casting spells, turning people into toads, yeah, if that kind of stuff did work, then I'd be getting an A, and I would have to stand up here. Let's look at the term pagan real quick. Okay, back in the prior to, the term pagan used to mean rural dweller. These were the farmers, the ranchers, the cattlers, etc. These are the people that lived outside of the confines of their fiefdom, city, town, however you want to term it. Nowadays, the term comes to mean any religion that's outside the big 3. Those big 3 being Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. So yeah, if you're a Confucianist or Shinto or Buddhist or whatever religions you have in Africa, you're pagan. Keep that one in mind. And the term pagan still does apply today because, witches do, to some extent, still revolve around the seasons, but not so much anymore. A lot of folks are getting back to, growing their own gardens. So it does kind of revolve around the seasons, duh, but not to the extent that it was back then. Nowadays, witches are more into recycling, cleaning up parks. They take care of a lot of the puppies and kitties. So like the ASPCA, the Humane Society, and they're also big into like the programs, your big brother and your big sister. All right. Now, in 1950, we're going to go back on a little bit of history here, and we'll show you where it got started, why it's mainstream now. And I love this story. In 1950, a gentleman by the name of Alexander Gardner was a British gentleman, was a practicing witch, had his own coven, and suddenly he came out to the public and said, right, we're all witches. And the British society was like, okay, don't get any on you. Nobody really cared. The definition of witch had lost its meaning. But there were other closet witches that came out of a broom closet that were standing on the sidelines going, okay, we're going to see how this plays out. And nothing really happened, okay, until the 1970s. And that's when you had the, the bra burning, everybody wanted civil rights, so it didn't matter who you were. All right, everybody gets civil rights now. Everybody. Okay, so with that, paganism today, or witchcraft I should say, is the fastest growing religion outside of the big three. And there are a number of reasons why. First, I want to spell out for you that more than 75% of witches today are women. So we can kind of deduce that the other 25 are men. Are they called warlocks? No, they are not warlocks. Warlock is actually a derogatory term. A warlock is somebody who betrays their coven. Now, that doesn't mean much today. If you want to call me a warlock on the hallway, all right, I'm still going to find my way to the water fountain. But back in the 17 and 1800s, a warlock was somebody who betrayed their coven to somebody in power. So now you were double damned because now your coven wanted to kill you, and so the people who were in power, I don't know how you want to term them, the people who conducted the Salem witch trials, etc. All right. Now, another reason that more than 75% of the women who are witches, not that become witches, feel that they have lost their identity in the Christian Bible. And that's not to say that they did, that's just what they feel. And it wasn't until the last 20 years or so that more and more women started getting into positions of power in the Christian church, like the Catholic religions, and and so on and so forth. Bear with me, I'm getting sick. I already covered that. And again, it's people who feel like they wanted to come back to nature. Witches dance around. We're going to go through myths now. Witches dance around the bonfire. Not in recent memory. That just doesn't happen. Another big one, witches worship the devil. Let's think about that for a moment. According to the Christian Bible, the devil is an all-powerful entity, the embodiment of absolute evil. Witches aren't Christian. Why would they follow something like that? To a witch, the devil does not exist. I know we get the Discovery Channel version of paintings where all the witches are lining up to kiss the devil's butt, yada, yada, yada. If they don't believe in the devil, that's about as me kissing that podium. It just doesn't work that way. Yeah, again, witches exist in all facets of life. Doctors, lawyers, police. I could be a witch, you just don't know. So be mindful if you have to go get that flu shot, if you start picking on witches, because that person with the needle. Here's another great one. Witches conduct animal sacrifice. Sure, right before they slap it on the grill. Much like the rest of us. And witches love children, and not in that bubbling cauldron kind of way. Now, remember a couple minutes ago I mentioned that they did a lot with the big brothers and sisters, etc. Oh, somebody asked me on the forums, white and black magic. Yeah, there's no such thing. There is true magic, and it's neither good nor bad. It's both cruel and loving at the same time, just like nature, which is what magic is. The only black and white is what comes from here. What's the intent behind the magic? Somebody else asked me about the term blessed be. Okay, the easiest way to look at that is if you switch the two terms around. It's be blessed. Harmless enough. It's kind of synonymous with aloha in Hawaii. You say that in greeting and parting. Because that just means that just to spend enough time in the sun, you don't know whether you're coming or going. In conclusion, we talked about the history of the term, what witches are and what witches are not. The question of whether or not it works, remember this. A religious structure cannot be without a spiritual base. That being said, if you believe in it, it does work. Okay? Now, one more thing for my conclusion. I want everybody to point their fingers at me. Everybody. Point your finger at me. Just one finger. Not that one. One finger. And now I want you all to say to yourself, Christoph, you are done with this speech. Congratulations, y'all just cast your first spell.